Hey gamers, it's that time of the month where I give my opinion about a movie that nobody asked for. Now just in case you didn't know, I am a big fan of the Alien franchise, even if I only like 2 out of the 6 movies. And spoiler alert, all the ones I don't like are everything after Aliens. But what I love most about the Alien franchise is that no matter what kind of movie it is, there's something for everyone in this series. You want a classic sci-fi horror thriller masterpiece? Check. An action sci-fi horror thriller? Yup. An overly pretentious heap of gobbledygook? You bet your sweet ass they got you covered. Alien really is one of those special series of movies. While not all of them are great, there's still something I get out of watching them. Now, if I had to offer a hot take before I get to my review, and just in case you wanted to know, the original Alien is my favorite. You can argue with the wall if you disagree. Now, having said all that, Alien has been in a weird limbo stage lately, especially after Ridley Scott was bullied into changing his plans, which led to Covenant, which then led to the future of Alien up in the air. We've had everything from a cancelled Neil Blomkamp sequel to Ridley Scott developing an Alien TV show, which is also up in the air, if it'll ever even be released, let alone made. It has been a rough several years for Alien, and after a decade of mismanagement and lack of output, I had mentally checked out of the series. And a part of me was really skeptical about them continuing the series, and if anything, a part of me wishes it had just ended with Aliens. But then word started going around for a potential sequel, and after years of confusion and delays, we now have Alien Romulus. Written and directed by Fede Alvarez, Alien Romulus is about, well, an alien, and a quirky cast of characters entering a spaceship and coming face to face with the perfect organism. So yeah, if that sounds familiar, I mean, yeah, that's most of the movies in this series. The weird thing is that the first 2/3 of this movie are pretty cut and dry and doesn't rely on familiarity with other Alien movies. Sure, the plots are similar, but this movie at first knew how to stand on its own and not rely on cheap callbacks to remind us of the good old days of Alien. Until it starts acting like we've never even seen the other fucking movies before. But before I get into any of that, I want to get my positives out of the way and make it annoyingly clear as possible that I can enjoy things. Cause for some reason my comment section is filled with a lot of people who got dropped on their heads as kids that'll ignore everything I fucking said and start accusing me of being a dry toast buzzkill. Like, bro, shut the fuck up. I'm allowed to critique things, you chowderheads. You're allowed to not agree with me and move on, you know. It's not like I leapt through the screen and forced you to not go see the movie about the neurodivergent and the old man with butter knives in his fists. Anyways, like I said before, Fede Alvarez is the director this time around, and I do love that similar to his other movies, there's a nice build of tension, especially scenes involving the facehuggers. And on that note, the practical xenomorph effects are fucking bananas in this movie. There's a really cool video with the production team showing off the animatronics, and it's so fucking cool seeing it translate to the big screen. This movie doesn't slack on the cinematography either. The dimly lit environments added to the tension and atmosphere this movie was going for, and I love that it evokes the same vibe as previous Alien movies without feeling like a gimmick, but a legitimate homage to what made those previous movies work so well. This movie is set between the events of Alien and Aliens, and instead of doing that thing where filmmakers get a little too overzealous and try to outdo or improve the original set pieces, you know how Prometheus is a prequel to Alien, and for some reason the crew and technology looks way more advanced than they did in Alien. I know this is very nitpicky, but all I'm saying is I love that this movie utilizes the 1970s sound effects and aesthetic without feeling like it has to modernize it just because we have a way to make it look cooler. Maybe it's just that weird part of my brain that loves the aesthetic and sound effects of the original movie, so I'll chalk it up to just nostalgia and I can say what I want to say cause it's my video, fuck you. However, this is where my review gets complicated because it's not like I hated the experience of watching this film, but there's a part of me that felt super fucking underwhelmed. There was a point in this movie where I was genuinely engaged and on the edge of my seat, but then the movie decides to just straight up not be interesting. For some reason, it decides to bring in concepts from previous Alien movies, and to have every action and creative decision influenced by what we've seen before just felt very derivative and destroyed any morsel of tension. As soon as the third act kicked in, there were moments I was straight up predicting. There's even a point in the movie where it felt like they just gave up giving a fuck. Like the xenomorphs seem to not even want to chase these people down anymore, which is weird because they can have a whole squad of facehuggers pull up and start acting up, but the moment the xenomorph comes in, I just didn't care as much. The danger didn't feel as realized in previous scenes. Sometimes the characters don't even care and they'll just tackle situations head on without care for their survival. Now I am going to talk about a particular scene in the movie and it's very spoiler heavy, so if you want to avoid that, skip to this time code here. Alright, so one of the characters is an android and is the brother to our main character, and his inclusion felt a little awkward. Like, I understood why he was there, but I didn't really see what greater significance he could bring to the story until the movie introduces Bishop from the original Alien movie. Except it's not actually Bishop, it's an android that looks like Bishop, and this is the point where the movie started losing me. Not only is his inclusion very forced, but the CGI on him looks absolutely awful. Pushing aside the horrendous de-aging effects, his inclusion in this movie is just another for the good of the company role, and this was just another half-assed attempt at shoehorning shit that we are familiar with from the previous movies. I shit you not, he's just here to do the exact same thing he did in Alien, except he goes Symbionic Titan with another android and influences him to do bad things. After this point, I could just not give much of a fuck. It only exists to remind us of Bishop and continue a plotline that ended back in 1979. Like, bro, you could have just gotten somebody else to play the android. We didn't need this nostalgia bait bullshit. I really don't understand filmmakers' obsession with trying to recapture the magic of the original movie when they don't have to. Even when there is a creative new idea, it happens at the end of the fucking movie and it feels extremely tacked on, which in and of itself is just a rehashed idea from Prometheus. There's a part of me that thinks I might have overhyped this movie for myself, but every time I think back on it, the more frustrated I get. In retrospect, it's not a bad movie. It's exceptionally well made and has moments of greatness, but the last half of this movie just felt so weird. I know I'm not beating the Donnie can't have fun allegations, but I can't just ignore the very glaring problems. There's been this sort of renaissance, a sort of movement to try and make Alien sequels work, and they've been failing since Alien 3. Let's not do revisionist history and pretend that this movie is good. But it's not just Alien. Terminator and Predator are other properties that have been trying to make their sequels work, but only to constantly fail. Now, this doesn't really count for Prey because that movie slaps, but I feel like a lot of these older movies that are seen as classics aren't good at making sequels. Now, this probably speaks to the creatives behind these projects, but mind you, Ridley Scott had creative control over Prometheus and Covenant, and yet they still fall short compared to their previous films. I'm afraid Alien is still continuing this ongoing trend, which is a shame because I am a fan of Fede Alvarez. I am a mega fan of Alien, but unfortunately, Alien Romulus adds itself to the camp of movies that are failed attempts at reviving a franchise that shouldn't have gone on as long as they did. So I'm going to give Alien Romulus a 5.5 out of 10.